Dear Father, I stand today just want to say thank you, Lord, for everything that you've done for me. Somebody's gonna need you, Lord. Somebody's gonna need a friend. Well, I stopped by to let you know that I know somebody that'll stick closer than a mother, somebody that'll stick closer than even a father. Well, friend, I'm talking about Jesus Christ. Yeah, thank you, Lord. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Jesus. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. 'Cause I know Jesus will never let you down. No, whenever you need him, I know. Today, that Jesus will be there every day, 'cause I know Jesus, he'll never let you down. Whenever you need the Lord, I know never let you down. No, 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 no. You need the Lord. He'll never let you down. Wait a minute, y'all. Yeah. Don't doubt the Lord. Don't doubt the Lord. No, 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 no. Don't doubt the Lord whatever you do. Don't doubt the Lord. Don't doubt the Lord. No, no, no. The Lord will always see you through. Just let me tell you. Just tell you what he done for me.
Hi, beautiful people, and how you guys doing today? Thank you so much for joining us here today on I've Been Through It, hosted by Gail Davis. We want to thank God for this platform. We want to thank our leaders at Roscoe. We want to thank Roscoe Media Center. We want to thank Johnny Morris, Keno. We want to thank the leaders of Roscoe. And of course, we got to thank my tech guy back there, Kevin. You know, he always be making it happen on the spot. And then, of course, we couldn't even be here without our guests. And all our guests is VIP. And so I really want to thank my guest here today. He's been a friend for about 16 years now. Right, Reggie? About 16 years?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, so his name is Reggie Morris, you guys, and I'm going to let him introduce himself, say a little bit about how he grew up and some of the things he's been through, because you know the show is called I've Been Through It. But he's a really, really dear friend of mine, and so we're going to let him introduce himself. Reggie Morris.
Well, hello out there, audience. My name is Reggie, as Gail stated. Just give you a brief bio. I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida. After I left Job Corps, I decided to come out west to check out California. And that was about over 30 years ago. I had a lot of rough struggles in the early stages of moving to California. But God certainly brought me through a lot of painful struggles.
Amen.
To where I'm at today. And I'm truly, truly grateful that I was invited by my dear friend, Miss Gail, to come and to share some experience, some collective hope, of faith,
yes,
prosperity, to bring us back to an understanding of who we are as a people.
Yes.
And I'm just certainly glad to be a part of the show today. And I hope that if anybody's listening out there, to know that God is real and he will bring you through your struggles, and just keep the faith.
Just keep the faith. Okay, Reggie, so tell our viewers a little bit about You polished up now, looking real good right now. But tell our viewers like some of the things you've been through, some of the struggles that you've been through some things that I didn't even know
Right.
within the 16 years. Because you just recently told me about you was homeless for a while.
Yes, I
So leading up to that, how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have one older brother and I have two sisters, and
Okay.
they're all back in Florida.
Oh, okay. So none of them out here.
No family is out here other than my son and daughter and
Oh,
grandchildren.
okay. Okay. And so you had the brothers and sisters, and what was it like going to school and through your neighborhood coming up? You wasn't really a gangbanger.
No, I never was involved in the gang activity. Actually, we lived a pretty sheltered lifestyle.
Okay.
My mom became a Jehovah's Witness.
Okay.
So when she became a Jehovah's Witness, that kind of radically transformed our life
Okay.
into that. So we didn't experience any of the gang activity type thing because she kept a pretty close leash on it. So
That's
and
a good
actually it was
thing.
a pretty good thing because
Yes.
I didn't experience any of the
That's a
that
good
type
thing.
of lifestyle activity, but I did surround myself around it because I
Okay.
became street smart, but I was never actually involved in gang lifestyles. We wasn't raised in that type of way growing up.
Okay. I like it. I understand because I sheltered is what I did with my children, definitely. Yeah. So when you got out of high school, what direction did you
Well,
like?
actually, I quit high school in the 10th grade.
Okay.
Because I was a very curious type of individual. I was a very adventurous, and I wound up quitting high school because I'd rather work and make money. And so my mom didn't encourage me to go back to school, so I wound up going to Job Corps,
Okay.
and I received my GED, and I
Okay.
completed Job Corps and got 2 skills in culinary arts, painting, and the first Job Corps I went to was in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And I stayed there for 9 months. And this is back in the early 80s, 1984.
Yeah.
And I became a hustler at Job Corps, of course. Started with a lot of money.
Ever since I've known you. Okay.
Yeah, so, and, I had a lot of fun. It was a co-ed facility. I had a fantastic time. I had a chance to get out of the state of Florida and go to a new state.
Okay.
And I enjoyed it. It was fun back then in those early 80s.
Okay. So you say you went to a different state. So what was that adventure like?
Well, Knoxville, Tennessee was the first Job Corps that I went to, so it was different. They kept us pretty much sheltered as well. We was able to go outside of the campus on weekends, but we had to have a weekend pass. Then we started having some parties in the dorm. Of course, all the stuff that teenagers would do at that time, some alcohol, we smoked weed, things that normal teenagers did. That's
Right.
what
But
we got
nothing too
introduced
rough.
to. No, nothing heavy, no heavy drugs or nothing like that. Just basic marijuana,
Okay.
a little alcohol, a little beer, a little wine, and we would have motel parties, things like that. But that was the extent of it.
Okay, so then where did that lead you after
Well,
Job
after
Corps
I-
and you got your a couple of certificates up under your belt? What did that lead
Well, actually, I signed up for a second Job Corps, and this time I
Okay.
went to Louisville, Kentucky, and I had a master plan. The master plan was that I was solely going back to make some more money, and I became a
Okay.
loan shark in this second Job Corps. So, being a loan shark,
Reggie, would you say you became a loan shark?
yeah, I became a loan shark in Job Corps.
Okay.
So I took full advantage of, they had what you used to call flying tens. For all the new people that went to Job Corps, everybody got their first $10. And the reason why they call it flying 10, because it flew just as fast as you got it. It was only $10.
Okay. Oh,
So
yeah.
I
$10.
counted up all the students that was at the campus, and it was about 450 students. So you figure 20 people a week was coming in with the new $10. And so I started buying half pints of liquor
Mhm.
in a dry county, and I would take all these half pints of liquor and cartons of cigarettes back to the campus, and I would sell these cigarettes for $5 a pack, $10 on payday.
Wow.
Same thing that I did with the liquor. So I amassed about $4,000 or $5,000. So at that time, we wasn't calling people haters, but guys in my dorm was jealous that I was getting all this money, that I was making all this money
Uh-huh.
and loaning out money, so somebody ratted me out. And in the middle of the night, they came in and raided my dorm. and opened up my locker, and they found maybe like 50 bottles of Seagram's gin, cartons of cigarettes. I had Zoom Zooms and Wham Whams. I had about maybe $2,000 cash, and they gave me an ultimatum. They told me I could do one or two things. I can keep everything and go to jail, or I can just buy me a bus ticket and go back to Florida. So
wow,
naturally, I chose to go back to Florida.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so you came back to Cali. So you were telling me a little bit about.
Well, I hadn't got to California yet.
Okay,
that was a process. I went back to Miami, Florida.
Okay, so from there, how did you get to California?
Well, it's an interesting story, Gail, how I got to California. Like I told you, I was always adventurous. So I was sitting on a bus bench talking to my older brother, and I was trying to discover what I wanted to do with my life and my purpose. And being 19 years old, I really didn't have a clue at the time.
Okay.
So I put 3 cities in a bag. I put Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles, and I shook it up in a brown bag. And I said, whatever city that I pull out of this bag is where I'm going to make my mark.
Wow.
So I pulled out Los Angeles, and I bought a Greyhound bus ticket and came to Los Angeles in 1984.
Rolling the dice, huh?
Yeah, right downtown on 6th Street, where the old Greyhound bus station was in Los Angeles. And when I got there, it was a whole different world for me. I had a few dollars in my pocket, and this is when the crack epidemic
had just started.
As I was leaving Miami, they were selling crack, but when I got to Los Angeles and saw so many homeless people on 5th Street,
wow,
I was amazed because I had never seen that many people, especially black people, actually sleeping on the sidewalk.
Right.
And there was rows of people that were smoking crack cocaine. I had my luggage and suitcase, and I didn't know a soul or anybody. And I wound up living at the Cecil Hotel on Main Street for 2 weeks.
Okay, I think I remember that name.
That was my first initial landing in Los Angeles, California.
And how old were you again? I
was 19 years old.
Wow. So you left the nest for real.
Yeah, I did.
You left the nest early, huh?
Yeah, I did. Well, actually, there's a story behind why I left home. My mom, I was 16 years old at the time, and my mother came home from work. And when we got home from school and work, she was packing up the house. And we said, are you moving? Are we moving? She said, well, I'm moving, but y'all not. So my mom left me and my brother to fend for ourselves and said she was headed back to Jacksonville and that we would have to take care of ourselves. So
are you serious,
that was the impetus. Yeah, so she left us to pay the rent and to fend for ourselves. So it was a very painful experience, but I'm glad she did it because
I know, because she said, I'm moving, but y'all not.
Right.
I don't know where you going, but you can stay here if you want to,
Absolutely.
but I'm up out of here.
Yeah, she took my baby sister.
Okay.
And they went back to Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
So that was really like the initiative of me really eventually landing in Los Angeles was because of that incident that my mom
So where did your brother go?
My brother stayed in Miami, where the interesting about my big brother, and this is a painful part of my life where I want to share this, my brother didn't know how to read.
Okay.
And I was embarrassed that my big brother didn't know how to read because we thought he was... he couldn't master. Let me put it this way. I caught on real fast. My mom said I was one of these kind of kids that if she told me something once, I got it like that. But my brother took a little longer.
Okay.
So I was angry that my brother didn't know how to read. And he came to me one day, and he wanted me to help him pronounce this word. And I wouldn't help him pronounce the word because I was upset that he just couldn't read like I could read. And it really, really devastated me years later that, I didn't help my brother learn how to read. And I think that's part of the pain that bothered me for so many years. But the good thing about my brother, he eventually became a manager at McDonald's. He started off as a grill person.
Okay.
And my brother, who didn't know how to read, literally became the manager of McDonald's and ran a McDonald's in Miami for 12 years.
For 12 years.
For 12 years, he became a manager of McDonald's. He learned how to read. He became very articulate, and he's been a phenomenal big brother over the years.
Wow.
He's always protected me, watched over his little brother, fought a lot of battles for me, because I didn't want to fight. I was scared to fight, and my brother had a lot of heart, so he taught me how to have part in the fight game. So
Yeah.
he got his jaw broken for me.
Uh-huh.
When this guy was trying to bully me across the street.
Mhm.
And my brother seen this and ran up and knocked the guy out.
Mhm.
So another person in the house came out and ran and hit my brother and broke his jaw in 2 places.
Mm.
And I didn't do anything about it. So, quite naturally that bothered me a lot.
Mhm.
And the most beautiful thing that my brother said years later when I finally was man enough to call him back to apologize for not helping him in that situation.
Yeah.
He said, man, that you're my baby brother, and if I had to do it all over again, I'd do it all over again. And
Oh
it
my
brought me
goodness.
to tears, and that's what makes my brother like a giant amongst men, because he forgave me for that incident
Yeah.
and told me that he would literally give up his life for me. So that right there changed my
Wow.
life and pretty much gave me the structure of the type of man that I want to model behind my big brother.
Awesome. That is so beautiful. See, that's a tearjerker right there. Okay, so Reggie, but isn't that just like lovely to see how God give everyone their strengths, right?
Right.
So your strength was reading and education.
Yes.
His strength was fighting. It came, natural for him.
Right.
And so that's what everybody need to know, all our viewers. Every one of us out has a strength. And we may have some areas that we weak in. And we could always work on those areas, right?
Yes.
But use our strength to the best of our ability. You know what I'm saying? That's the word, right?
Correct.
Use it to the best of our ability. But I love how you brought that out there, because that's a tearjerker. And your brother was so forgiving and so loving, right?
Yes, he was.
That-
Absolutely.
That is so beautiful. Okay, so tell us some more. Like, what happened after that, then,
Well,
Reggie? 'Cause
after
you got
that,
me.
after the years of, after I got to Los Angeles,
Uh-huh.
I was fascinated by, the scene and just being new to California, and not really seeing that many homeless people actually
Right.
living and sleeping on the sidewalks, sleeping in cardboard boxes.
Right.
And I got introduced to crack cocaine, and that was kind of like for maybe 6 months of being in Los Angeles, I had got on crack real bad, and
Okay.
I wound up getting homeless. And of course, I had never been on drugs or anything like that prior to coming to California. So
Right.
I became homeless. I started, living and sleeping in missions downtown at the Midnight Mission,
Okay.
the Wine Guard, all the single room occupancy hotels. I started selling crack cocaine. I started conning people. I became a real gifted con man. I would take slum jewelry that they used to have downtown and go to Venice Beach and polish it up,
Mm-hmm.
put it, lay them out in a briefcase and print up.
And make it look real good.
Right, right. And print up business cards.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like a, self-proclaimed jeweler, but it was slum, is what we called it back in the day.
Okay.
And I would go and make about $400 or $500 on any given day on Saturday at Venice Beach.
Wow.
And I would take that money and go back downtown and buy crack and stay up in the room for 2 weeks. And this is where my life had changed, Gail, when I got on the smoking bench.
Mm-hmm.
And I rented this room, and I had about 3 or 4 different people in the room with me at this time.
Uh-huh.
And after everybody had used up and smoked up all the crack I had,
There you go.
some spirits, for lack of a better word, some type of demonic force
Uh-huh.
was inside this room. And how I know this, at the time I didn't, but I know that I was having some troubles in this room, and I was trapped in this room. And
Wow.
the next morning, somebody had came and knocked on my door
Uh-huh.
and said, Reggie, all night long we heard all these voices in your room, and things was being like thrown up against the wall. But all I could remember was just sleeping in the bed, but I knew there was some type of force,
Like
that-
you could feel it.
that something was in the room, but I was unaware of it. But in my mind, I knew that it was, and the confirmation was that when this person knocked on the door and said, man, it's like you was having a fight scene inside this hotel room. And I was like, what are you talking about? And this person said, man, we heard all kind of voices. You was screaming, you was yelling, you was asking for help. And that's when I realized that, okay, God, you're going to have to come and change and transform my life, because it's heading down a downward spiral. And I wind up leaving
Wow.
Los Angeles and going to Pasadena.
Okay.
at the Union Station. It was a homeless shelter.
Okay.
And that pretty much got me to where I'm at currently today.
Really? Awesome. Wow. So you kind of got scared straight.
Pretty. Well, you know, I was, like I said, I was an adventurous type of person, so I had a lot
So
of
not
curiosity.
all the way straight, but at least you got scared off the drugs.
Yeah, right,
Well,
right.
That was a good thing.
Yeah.
That's all like scared straight, right?
Pretty much.
Because
you
the
can
other
say it.
stuff was like you was hustling. You know, you just getting your hustle on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what happened in Pasadena?
Well, Pasadena was my turnaround moment. I wound up living at the Union Station for about 4 months.
Okay.
Got some rehabilitation under my belt. Then I got involved with Alcoholics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous. I managed to finally get some clean time, and I got a job in Pasadena. I got myself off the streets.
Awesome.
I moved into a sober living house, and I got me a job, and I got involved in a relationship, and I started back smoking crack cocaine again.
Okay.
And I wind up getting put out of the sober living, and I wound up sleeping under a church for 6 months.
Wow.
And I worked on, I was on Lake in Pasadena,
Okay.
and I had a work for food sign on the freeway.
Okay.
And I would go get up every morning about 7 o'clock in the morning. I didn't have a job, so I put out this big cardboard sign that said I will work for food.
Wow.
And this is probably in 90, 91. And I was making about $200 to $300 a day that people would come and roll their windows down, $5, $10, $20. But I would take that money, and I called myself thinking that I said, well, if I go back down to Los Angeles and go cop some dope, I can bag it up, come back to Pasadena, sell it all to the crack addicts in the park. But of course that didn't work because I wound up smoking up all the crack cocaine. And the interesting thing, Gail, that kind of like saved my life was an old woman who would see me every morning with the work for food sign. She would start bringing me something to eat, a bottle of water, and an apple, a banana. And the lady prayed with me. And the prayer that this lady said to me, she said, Father, I pray that you will bless this young man, and that whatever his struggles are, that you will relieve him and deliver him from it. And she hugged me, and it brought tears to my eyes. And I wound up going to active rehab in 1993.
Okay.
Or 92. At the end of 92, it was November of 1992.
Okay.
And in 93, I moved where I live at today, which is in Lancaster, California.
Wow.
After I left active rehab. And it's been a beautiful journey since 1993. And there's been some in-between moments, but God has truly blessed me, and my life has totally been transformed, changed. And I've been on the search for awareness and just thanking God for the struggles that he brought me from.
Yeah, because it builds character, right?
Yes.
And it teaches us who we are. It teaches us who we don't want to be no more. You know what I'm saying?
Really.
So Reggie, so you would say that prayer really do change things in situations, because that lady praying for you, it kind of just changed every.
It showed me that God, you know, we talked about this coming up, and I was sharing with you about the ram in the bush. That when there's always adverse situations and we don't see a way out of our present circumstances, and we think it's hopeless and that we're about all but finished. And there's a ram that is right there. And this is God's way of saying that I'm going to provide substance. I'm going to give you the rescue. I'm going to give you a way out. I'm going to give you hope. I'm going to give you inspiration. I'm going to give you what you thought was lost. That now trust and believe in me that there is nothing impossible that cannot be resolved through faith and prayer. And God gave me that in my life.
Amen. So that's what we want to say to all our viewers out there. Would say that again, Reggie? Say it again. Nothing is impossible.
Nothing is impossible that God cannot accomplish when you walk in extreme faith. And even when you're feeling hopeless and powerless, that our Heavenly Father had already designed us from before we was ever put on this planet. He already knew who Reggie was going to be.
Foundation of the world.
He knew Gail, and he says this in the book of Jeremiah. He says that I knew you before you was formed in thy mother's womb. I called you.
Amen.
So God has already predestined us for greatness. And we all serve a great purpose on this earth. Although it may get diminished because of our struggles, and we can't see it. But
Right.
I'm a living testimony. I'm a living vessel that from leaving Florida to being in California almost 30 years later, of all the beautiful things that God has blessed me to have, children, grandchildren. I've been married and to have a family. And I didn't know what to expect when I got to California.
Right.
And it has truly been a remarkable blessing. In fact, he had already set up the purpose for you to come along as a friend and to share this testimony, because it was already planted and rooted. So
Already
now we're just going to
planted and
express what God can do for all of us. So just for the audience out there, if anybody's listening, just know, never give up. My brother, who protected me all my life, I called him with some issues. And the most important fundamental thing that he said to me was this. He said, don't make permanent decisions based on temporary circumstances.
All right.
So when he told me that, it's like your circumstances temporary. But a lot of people don't realize that those temporary circumstances is not permanent. So they make decisions based on temporary circumstances, and it becomes a devastated decision because now they got to live with something that was, if they would have waited and trusted and believed that it was going to change and not be permanent. But because I know that now, I think before I react to adverse situations.
Right. That is so good. I'm just loving this. It's because it's so on time, right? It's so touching, and I know someone out there. You're touching someone out there right now because this is what they need to hear. It just hold on. I don't care how hard it get, you know. And I say that sometimes, but I do care. But it don't matter how hard it get. God is always have a ram in the bush, right?
Absolutely. I can truly testify to that one, Gail.
Wow. So how many children now, Reggie, do you have? And
I have 2 children. My daughter just turned 17 years old a few days ago. My son is 26. He has 2 daughters with a fiance.
Looking just like his daddy, I might say.
You saw him today, right?
Yeah, I see. But every time I see him, he look just like you.
Yeah. He's growing into a very fine young man. I'm proud of him.
Awesome. And your daughter too, because I remember seeing her when I came to the barbecue. Because it's weird, Reggie, now we became really good friends about 15, 16 years ago.
Right.
And then you became good friends with my brother, not even knowing, realizing that was my brother.
Didn't even know it. And
that's crazy, right?
You got a phenomenal brother. He's got such a gift and a talent. I love you, brother. You know, he's just give you a good story about your brother. What I work at, he would come up there and he would sing all the time.
Yeah, that's
the very first time that I met AD, he was riding on a bicycle. And he mag dogged me and gave me one of these look like what I'm looking at, fool. You know, so. But I broke him down to a humbleness about him where we became real good friends.
Right.
And I had ran out of gas one day, and your brother AD would come up there and hang out with me, and I would give him incense to make him a few dollars in his pocket.
Yeah.
And I said, AD, man, I don't ran out of gas, and I don't have $1 in my pocket today. AD took 20 packs of incense and went and sold them within 2 hours and came back with the $20. And he said, oh, by the way, Reg, I found a brand new gas can. He got on his bicycle, filled up the gas container that he found on the trash pile. After we had prayed, your brother prayed and asked that God would bless me.
Really?
And he was the ram in the bush that particular day and found a brand new gas container and brought it to me. And I still got the gas container to this day.
That is cool. I would have never known that story. But one thing I know that my mother raised us in church. You know, we had a lot of issues. We've been through 3 different foster homes. We had a lot of issues, right?
Right.
But my mother did pray. And even though my mother, we went through a lot of issues, like I said, but my mother knew how to pray because my grandmother. got us into church, praying. Then my mother kept it going. And, that's one thing about my family. I will say, even with dysfunction, we know how to pray.
Absolutely.
And that's even some of my newfound family. You know what I'm saying? They're not newfound, but newly introduced to them. Some of my Denver family, some of my Texas family. I'm talking about mother's side, dad's side. That's one thing we all have in common. We all know how to pray.
Right. And also your other brother Wayne that I met and got to know through your brother AD is turned out to be a phenomenal brother as well. You know, always when he sees me, he supports me in my entrepreneurship. He purchases a lot of different products I sell.
That's Wayne.
Very, very humble cat. Got nothing but love for me. He told me one day, he said, man, thank you so much for looking out for my brother when you're around. And, I'm just a part of the family, man. It's just like I'm that adopted brother that just became a part of a beautiful family, man. And it's just a blessing how God just brings so many good people in my path and presence. And I'm honored to be a part of the Davis family.
Hey, Davis family in the house, right? Because there's a gang of us in Denver, Colorado. Shout out to my cousins in Denver. Shout out to my cousins in Texas. On my dad's side, we shout out to my cousins in Texas on my grandmother's side and on my mother's side. Shout out to all my family, nieces and nephews. Everybody know me. Shout out to all y'all, right?
All right.
Yeah, because I love them. It's a restoration now. And we family, and families have their issues and everything, but it's nice because we do know how to pray. And we don't know nothing, we know how to pray, right?
Awesome.
Yeah, so Reggie, tell our viewers a little bit about, because I remember when I met you, you actually had a prayer line, right?
Yes, I did.
And so were you inspired for the prayer line from the lady praying? What inspired you to do that?
Well, to be honest with you, how that really came about, I was going through a difficult time in my marriage. And I had some struggles going on. I had got really depressed. I couldn't snap out of it. I really had got to a low point in my life.
Okay.
And my wife didn't want to be married anymore. She made that clear. So I'm a very family-orientated type of brother. So when she told me that she didn't want to be married anymore, I was trying to save the marriage. But to no avail.
Right, I do remember. Yeah.
So what happened was my spirit started bothering me real, real bad. And I picked up something wasn't just right in the house. And I went upstairs in the bedroom and I sat on the bed and God had revealed a vision to me that I saw my wife in this vision. Okay. And he had revealed some things in this vision that I saw. So when I finally went to sleep the next morning, I woke up and God had gave me a prayer. And this prayer, I call it the prayer of 4 directions.
Okay.
And it says, it goes something like this. It says, I pray that my Heavenly Father would bless me in 4 directions. Okay. I pray that he blesses me east, west, north, and south.
Okay.
And the favor that he placed upon my life is escape-proof, indestructible, and that nothing shall ever come up against it. I pray that he blesses me from the crown of my head to the soles of my feet, and that he bless my hands, that I'm a blessing unto others, as well as to myself, and that he place a protective hedge around me to protect me from all hurt, harm, and danger. I woke up with that, and I'm like saying, wow, like I didn't know where it came from.
Right.
Because I remember that God had gave me the vision when I saw my wife in his vision.
Right.
And then when I woke up, those words flowed out one morning. I was at the Louisiana Fried Chicken where you saw me earlier.
Right.
And God said, I want you to say this prayer over people that I bring to you. And it was kind of random, but the first person that I had prayed that prayer to 5 years ago was a woman who was going through some issues and some struggles. Right. And the Spirit just said, take her by the hand and just pray this prayer over her. And I did. And I'm still friends with this person today. And she tells me all the time that God brought us together. God put you in my life at a moment where I was going through so much with my children. Her children had been taken away. She had lost her house. She was really like going through some things. And she said that when I prayed that prayer over her, that her life had took a drastic turn for the better.
For the better. Awesome.
Not for the worse,
For
but
the
for the
better.
better.
Awesome.
And I started saying that prayer at my work on my break.
Okay.
I prayed that prayer over your brother AD. And we started forming prayer circles on my break with all the guys that used to hang around in front of my workplace, about 10 of us. And they would literally come inside the place where I worked and grab me out of there because they wanted me to
Like,
say,
it's time to pray.
like, yeah, like, you know, I'm at work. I really, you know, I can't
Yeah.
like just, but when the Spirit say move and be
You gotta
obedient,
move. You gotta move.
and because there were so many people that was reaching out for help, for and God using me as a servant to lead that.
Right.
And the prayer has been a phenomenal prayer, Gail. I tell you, it's a cornerstone of my life. And the prosperity of that prayer has blessed me so much in my life in so many different ways, and so many other people. So that's how the prayer line where God had really like said, look, I'm putting you out there to do this.
Exactly.
And so that's pretty much.
That's really our first job. Because although we have jobs that we go to, JLB, we have businesses or whatever, but really our first job is to spread the good news and to pray. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
To change situations, change people's lives, right?
Absolutely.
Because that's how your life got changed, it sounds like, and that's such a blessing that you remember that. So did you ever get a chance to see that lady again?
The old lady?
Yeah.
No, that was in Pasadena.
So you never got a chance to see her?
I never got a chance to see that lady again, but she basically set up what God used her to get to me, to put that, to pray over me, to change my thinking, and to lead me to where I'm at today.
Awesome.
So, you know, when God bring people in your path, they only for a season.
Yeah, some people stay around for a minute.
Right.
But some people just for a little bit
But this
of
particular
season.
person was supposed to do exactly what she did.
And she popped in and popped out.
And it led me to my journey to where I'm at today.
That's beautiful. Cause like me and you, we been for a long time.
Right.
We didn't have thousands of stories to share with each other. Prayed and talked and complained and
all of that.
And Reggie, guess what happened? And you be like, oh, Gail, let me tell you this. I'm like, guess what happened, Reggie? I always got a story, right?
Yeah.
But you have seen me go through a lot of struggles too, though. You've seen me go through a lot of struggles. You know, you've seen me before I even published my book. You've seen me before I was actually doing this show. You've seen me go through a lot. But I remember a long time ago coming to the DMV, and I remember you praying for me. Right. And you gave me the card. That's what happened. You gave me a card. You said you had a prayer line, and you said if you ever need some prayer, pray. And I did. I remember I called you, and when I called you and you prayed that prayer, I forgot what it was about, but it actually did change that situation at the time.
Right. Well, you know, and the interesting thing about you is that when you told me about your life story in the book that you had published and put out, and to read your healing story, it really touched me, you know, to know the struggles that we all have gone through, and for you to be strong enough to tell it and to use it as a testimony for others. Yeah. You know, it's a remarkable journey. You know, now that I got a chance to know you and to hear your stories, and then to read portions of the book and to know the traumatic things that you experienced. It really kind of touched me and gave me the fighting power to say that if we can get through this, then we can get through anything. That we serve a God that's a forgiving God, and we got to learn how to forgive ourselves. You know, like this, what I shared about my brother. You know, for years I bottled that fear that I had up for so long, and it separated me from my family for years on end because of the shame and guilt of not being the brother that I should have been to my big brother, who would put his life on the line for me. But what broke that was the remarkable thing that my brother had said to me, is that it doesn't get any better than a brother who
saying he'd give up his life.
And Jesus, you know, he said that there's no greater friend than a friend that will lay down his life for his friends. So my brother showed the example of a Christ-like nature.
Amen.
To say for his baby brother that I know my little baby brother and I grew up with him, so I'm going to look out for him and I'm going to toughen him up, and I'm going to watch over him at the same time. So I understand that fear can play a paralyzing role in most people's lives. And we talked about this when we was coming up. what we shared about that God didn't give us a spirit of fear,
Amen.
but of power and of love and of a sound mind.
Yes.
So today I'm a soldier and a general for knowing that God has really walked me through some treacherous terrain on the battlefield, that we got to gird ourselves up and be ready for the fight. You know, because we're fighting things that's beyond the naked eye. And when God gives us the conviction and the strength to supersede what the enemies try to throw in front of us. And that's why that powerful prayer that he gave and imparted into my spirit is a prayer that I still use to this day.
Amen.
But prayer definitely does work.
It definitely does work, right? And lately here, it's working even more. So, you know, because lately here, like, I might speak something and it's happening. I might pray for someone and they be like, you know what? My leg feels better. I just prayed for somebody. She said my leg feel better. And I prayed for somebody. Oh, it feels better. You know, and it's not that I'm shocked or really, really surprised. It's just a blessing, though. It's a blessing to know that God is actually using you in that capacity, right?
Yes.
Because it's a blessing to be used by God. You know, being used ain't a good word, but being used by God is a great word. You know what I'm saying? It's great to be used by God. It's really great. I just love it because, you know, he's my father and, you know, he's been there and everything, and he never left me.
Absolutely.
Through everything. And it just builds your faith. Every situation, it builds your faith more and more, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
It just builds your faith.
It gets
more
better
and
and better. You know,
better and better.
I just truly thank God for my life at the state where I'm at today. You know,
Amen.
50 years on this earth and the struggles that I've seen and endured and conquered. I had a chance to go home for 3 months. You know, my mom had got really, really sick.
I remember, yeah.
And just to go home and see all my family members and to spend time with my mom and to be a blessing to her. And I had a beautiful time connecting back with my family roots.
Yeah.
And family is so important, and I promised
Family
that I
is
wouldn't stay
very
away so long
important.
next time, because family is all we got. Family,
See?
no matter how difficult family members can be,
Yeah.
and how much discord.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's about,
That's
Jesus.
about
The Bible says that we should forgive 77 times 7,
That's it.
which is infinite. So
That's
we
it.
have to learn to be tolerant, and that's
Tolerant.
the key, is to be tolerant of others. We don't have to always accept things that would bring us a lot of discomfort, because God give us common sense to exercise good judgment.
Right.
But
right.
on a universal level, we got to always be tolerant and loving, and being a good neighbor, and loving our neighbors as we love ourselves. And that's the
Amen.
commission that our Father wants to see us in that type of position.
Yes, yes, and I do love my family. Like, we have definitely been through struggles, but even when I think about my brothers always been there for me. They always protected me, you know what I'm saying? And my two sisters, we've been through our struggles, but we always still wind up some kind of way getting back together. And even through the man, even though you get mad sometimes, really mad at certain things, you can't even stay mad when you got the love of God in you. You really can't stay mad, because that love gonna supersede that hate. Or not that hate, but that disappointment.
Right.
I'm gonna say disappointment. The love gonna supersede that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, and speaking of Denver family, my auntie Peggy and my auntie Melba, I gotta shout out to them too, because I didn't say them. But it's just been a newfound restoration for me, just meeting my family, and not just on mom's side, but even on not just on dad's side, but even on mom's side. And then to know that your cousins and your family members on different sides, they act and talk and think, some of the things that you do.
Right.
So you guys, you can see where that bloodline actually makes you guys identify with each other, right? And it's such a restoration to know where you come from. So, I pray that everyone out there that is not connected with their family, I pray that God will let you guys, if it's a safe environment, I pray that God will let you guys connect with your family, because it's so important to know where you come from, right?
Absolutely.
And to know your people, because it's a healing restoration, and you identify. I identify with all my girl cousins. I be looking at them like, that's where I get that from. That's where I get that from. You know what I'm saying? And it's such a beautiful thing, though. It's such a beautiful thing. So, yeah, Reggie, so tell our viewers some of the things that you've been through for as, I know you don't want to get too deep on the show today.
Right.
But tell our viewers something that you've been through that was very hard for you to get through, but you made it through, and you want to encourage someone else, like, I made it through, so can you? I got through this, you can get through this too.
Well, one of the most difficult things that I had to really kind of get through that I didn't really think would have affected me was getting divorced.
Okay.
You know, because like I said, family is everything to me. So I went through a great period of depression, you know, where I couldn't make myself get out of the bed. And I started to drink more,
Okay.
to numb the fact that I was living in this big empty house
Okay.
by myself. And you never realize the importance of having people in your life till after you're by yourself for a while.
Ooh, say that again, Reggie. Say
So,
that again.
when I said, well, you know, maybe the arguments wasn't so bad. You know, maybe the disagreements
Wow.
wasn't so bad. And I only say that because when you wake up and come to an empty home where there's no dinner prepared, there's no sound of my daughter greeting me at the door, or hey dad, or
Wow.
there's nobody there. It's just you. And but the funny thing that
That's
kind of
deep.
where I was able to cope was
Uh-huh.
having a dog. And I don't like animals, to be honest with you.
Wow.
But I had this dog, Alex, for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And if it wasn't for that dog to give me a great appreciation of animals, and this
Mhm.
dog was always glad to see me when I got to the door.
Mm-hmm.
He greeted me.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't talk back. He listened. He
would
understood.
say something like that. He didn't talk back.
Well, I mean, in the
Dogs
sense,
don't talk, far as I know.
well, what I'm saying
I know what you're
was,
saying. I know what you're saying.
yeah, right. It's just that it showed me that when you devote your energy to all of God's creation, that everybody
Okay.
serves a purpose on the earth,
Yeah,
including the
okay.
animals. So
Okay.
the animal my dog helped me get past the loneliness of being in the house by myself.
Okay.
It's what I'm really saying. And the depression was, anybody who suffered with depression, and most men won't admit it,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm speaking to the brothers out there that macho, that's prideful. Talk to somebody, you know, I don't care who it is, but depression can give you suicidal thoughts. It took me to a level where
Right.
anxiety, your mind you're not in the right frame of mind. You
Talk
really
about
feel like
it.
you're the only person in the world and nobody understands.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a struggle right there. And if it wasn't for me just trusting and waking up with that prayer that God put over me,
Right.
I probably would have been in some bad shape, you know.
Wow.
But depression is an illness. It's treatable.
Mhm.
So if you're out there suffering with depression for various different reasons, for
Talk about
no family members, no holidays, like I literally on my 50th birthday, I literally sat in the house by myself.
it. Wow.
There was not one person that called and said happy birthday.
Wow.
And part of that I would like to say is because I'm an isolationist.
Mhm.
I don't have a lot of friends. So
Mhm.
what happens is when you don't mingle with a lot of people, you don't hang out,
Yeah.
there was nobody to call you and say, come on, let's celebrate your 50th birthday, because
Right.
my wife had already left, my child was already gone. So I
Wow.
was left being 50 years old, sitting in the house by myself, and I got extremely depressed behind it. So
Wow.
I never want to experience depression like that or ever go through something like that, but it is hope and there is help for. So I got involved with a group where we meet once a month,
Uh-huh.
and we come together and we have little cookouts to help balance the area of
That is
depression.
awesome.
Yeah, so
So people might need that in their life. Like, it's time for other people to start forming groups,
Right.
support groups, right?
that's what it is, right?
That is awesome. And see, I didn't know that.
Right.
But Reggie, I think I seen you on Facebook. Look, I think I did say something on Facebook like "Happy Birthday."
Oh, maybe.
So,
Okay.
I remember your birthday on Facebook. I think I did say "Happy Birthday" or
Okay,
something.
okay.
I remember a couple times I just called you out the blue, and you was like, "Yeah," because you was out of town a couple times when I called you, and you was
Okay.
like, "What made you call me?" And I'm like, "Why can't I call my friend?"
Yeah.
Because you have been through some things. But Reggie, also let our viewers know too about how depression can it's not just mental, but it can mess with your physical. Because I do recall you having I forgot what it was, but your eyes was like bloodshot or something like that. And you was on the job at the time too. You was working.
Oh, I had got Bell palsy.
Okay.
Yeah, that actually they thought it was a stroke. But my lip and face had got kind of like turned up, and then this eye over here. But what it was Bell palsy. You're right. Depression can affect you physically as well. You know, when you got a lot of stress, high blood pressure, like I have, you know, you can wind up getting strokes. You know, depression can lead off to many different areas. Because it's always doom and gloom when you're depressed, and no matter how much you try to block it out, you just wake up feeling like the world is about to go away and there's no hope.
Wow.
That's the feeling of depression, and I wind up getting Bell palsy for a year on the job, and everybody thought I had a stroke.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
I remember when you were going through that. I remember.
I literally, and the doctor said there's a possibility that it was going to stay like that. That normally people that get Bell palsy, it stays, it don't go away. And I still have a slight, you have to look real close to notice it, but I used to be able to whistle real good. Now I can't whistle anymore. That's the effects of the Bell palsy. But God blessed me to get my face back
to normal,
where, you know, somebody can see me and still think I'm cute, you know. But.
And you know what, Reggie, you are back to normal as far as I'm concerned, because I remember the before and the after, and now the after. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I remember that. So depression is a serious thing.
Yeah, it is.
Like, people can't just, like, you know, and even if some family member is depressed, even if you can't really be around that family member, just pray.
Right.
You know, pray for them, because it's really a serious thing. Because I know when I battle with depression, one of my best friends, Keita Weeda, she was just recently out. Well, she's still out here from Florida, right? And she was reminding me how she used to always come and open up the blinds when I was going through. I won't say and this is one thing I want to put out there, you guys, in the atmosphere. When people say my depression, my headache, my sickness, quit saying my. Because if you don't want it to be yours no more, throw my away. You know, delete my out of the equation, right? Don't say my this and my that. Say the depression got to go in the name of Jesus, or whatever, however you want to say it, right? Depression, get the hell out, however you want to say it. Okay, because it's not yours, unless you keep claiming it. That's the only way that it's yours, right? So anyway, at the time when I was going through the depression back then, that's gone right now, that's been deleted, Keita reminded me of how she used to come in, and I would be in there, you know, this is my scheduled pity party, right? Because I would have to schedule it while the kids were at school. So when they come home, I had to act normal again. But while they were at school, I was scheduling my pity party, and I didn't want nobody interrupting, right? Because I'm up there crying, feeling sorry for myself. I'm thinking of a million bad things that happened to me, and I'm compiling it all into one. And I'm just so hopeless. And back then, but I'm not hopeless. So you know, that's what I was feeling back then, right? So during my scheduled pity parties, she would come and bang on the door, knock on the door. Gail, I see your car. I know you in there. I'm not leaving. You not. And just like the movie Waiting to Excel, how the lady came in, she opened up all the blinds. That was my friend Keita. And she used to make me so mad, right? Because I could not, I wanted to just be by myself at the time. I wanted to just be in my pity and my mess. And she would come in there and open up all the blinds and be like, Gail, come on, we finna go here, we finna go there. Or she would just make me not stay in my pity party. And I'm so glad. Thank you, Keita. I shout out to Keita Weeda. But anyway, so she would do that, right? And so people think it's like one of these things that you could just like, okay, if you're depressed, you may not see that spirit of depression roaming around in your house, right? And so a lot of people, and I didn't think about that back then, but God let me know that even though I was depressed and I called myself hiding it really well from my kids, that spirit, you cannot hide that spirit. That spirit was running rampant in my house. And it was trying to attack my kids in certain ways. And they never did explain that to me till later, that they didn't explain, Mama, the spirit of depression was in the house trying to attack me. They just told me some of the things that happened to them while I was in the room, you know, doing what I was doing, crying and pity partying, they explained to me some of the things that happened to them, and it really let me know now that I was able to hide it physically, but spiritually, you cannot hide the spirit of depression. So if you are depressed, you really have to get yourself better, be very aggressive, get rid of it the quickest, best way you can, because when you're depressed, then the spirit is still in your atmosphere.
Absolutely.
Wherever you are. And so the little kid is not going to know how to fight off the spirit of depression. So if you feel like you're protecting your kids because you don't do it around them, that spirit is still running rampant. So that's just something, you know, I just wanted to put out there, right? Because I didn't learn till later. I didn't recognize it till later that it's a spirit of depression. And like God also told me, don't say my. If a person got glaucoma, don't say my glaucoma. Don't say my this. Don't say my sickness, my illness. You know, watch the words that we say, you guys. We have to watch the words that we say. Because the Bible says life and death is in the power of the tongue, right? Yes. And they that love it will eat the fruit of it, right? So that means whatever you say you having, that's what you having. And that's from my bishop way back in L.A. for what? Bishop William A. Garrett, shout out to you and your wife, Mrs. Garrett. That was from 20-something years ago. Mm-hmm. He said, you're having what you say you having. And that's it. So if I'm having millions right now, y'all, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm having millions, okay? I'm speaking it, okay? I'm speaking it because there's so many things that I want to do. So what you having right now? What you having, Reggie?
What I'm having right now?
Yeah, what you having? You know, you may not see it. It may not be manifested, but it's yours.
My vision is that God is going to bless me with millions of dollars because I have a ministry where I want to go out and be a servant, you know, and I'm asking God to, I'm speaking it into existence, you know.
Talk about it.
You know, as a man thinketh, so is he. So I'm thinking good thoughts. And I know where the source of my riches come from. The Bible says in the book of Deuteronomy that I alone, the Lord, shall give you power to get wealth.
That's it.
So when you understand the source of where the wealth comes from, that we are already wealthy. So we have to execute the faith to believe. So I'm speaking that God is going to bless me with untold millions because I want to build houses for people. I want to be able to travel the world and show the goodness of the Lord. And if my Father's rich, then I'm rich.
Talk about it.
Not just spiritually, but physically to be rich, because we need money, and not that we have to love money, but when we understand the power of money and what it can do for us and to help others. And that's my intention, is that I want God to be able to bless me with wealth where I can help others. That's my real goal.
Because money is good, right? Because money answers all things, the Bible said. It's the love of money, the greed of money that makes it bad. That the things that people do with it. Because money is good. The Bible says, my Bible says, money answers all things, right? And God said he came to give us life and give it to us more abundantly. So that means he want us to have it in abundance, right?
Well, you know, I teach my son and daughter that money cometh. See,
money cometh, yes.
You have to be specific about it.
You got to call it.
Interesting, funny that you speak about this, Gail, because I met so many people at the DMV where I work as a security officer. A gentleman had came up there looking for me, and I was on lunch, and he waited a whole hour and said, Reggie, the Holy Spirit told me to come up here to tell you that you need to say that money cometh. Not just say money coming, but you have to attach your name to it. I said, what are you talking about? He said, I know. He said, I know you're gonna think I'm ridiculous, but I got to be obedient to what the Spirit told me to come here and seek you out to tell you this. And he said that you have to say money coming to Reginald Morris. Because if you just say money coming, the money can go to this brother right here, or it can come over there to you.
Talk about it.
But if you specific with how you call it, with your name attached to it,
that's it.
Your word, it has to be your command of it has to be coming back to you.
Yeah.
So when he told me that the Spirit told him to come tell me that, I literally am not making this up.
Right.
There are some people that literally will come to that place and literally drop money in my hand and say, Reggie, you do such a good job. And this is just... You do. It blew me away, where money would just seem like it would just fall in my lap. But I understand the source behind it. It's no magic trick.
You having
nothing.
what you say, you having out your mouth.
You have to speak those things as if they are. And I'm a firm believer
Yes.
that God wants to prosper us.
Yes.
He don't want to see us destitute.
Life more abundantly.
So this misnotion that they talk about these churches with prosperity. First of all, didn't Solomon get so much wealth because he asked for the
one of the richest men that ever lived.
He didn't ask for the wealth. He asked for the wisdom.
Yeah, and he got the
to
wealth.
be a discerning king to judge God's people rightly and justly.
See?
So, and because he knew what to ask for, God gave him the bonus to go along with what to ask for. So I'm asking God to impart wisdom so we can apply the wealth with common sense.
Amen. So we're going to end on that note because you guys, our time is up. The hour go by so quick. But thank you guys so much for coming back every Monday. Thank you to my guest, Reggie Morris.
Loved it.
Thank you to everybody that makes this happen. Johnny Morris, I love you guys. And thank you to my viewers. Thank you to my guests. And you guys come back every Monday at 4 o'clock. I've been through it, hosted by Gail Davis. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Dear Father, I stand today just want to say thank you, Lord, for everything that you've done for me. Somebody's going to need you, Lord. Somebody's going to need a friend. Well, I stopped by to let you know that I know somebody that'll stick closer than a mother, somebody that'll stick closer than even a father. Well, friend, I'm talking about Jesus Christ. Yeah. Thank you, Lord. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Jesus. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. 'Cause I know Jesus will never let you down. No. Whenever you need him, I know. Today, that Jesus will be there every day, 'cause I know Jesus